Hey boys, welcome back to the next club, and that's the Titans. And I'm just looking at this picture. I'm guessing that's Miles, but geez, they went a bit overboard with the forehead there. That's crazy, but let's get into this, shall we? Oh wait, I don't think last episode I checked the uniforms. I'm probably not gonna do that anymore. It's a bit silly. I don't really need to do it. Let's just check the lineup, shall we? So Joshy Hoffman. You know, I was really sad to see Hoffman go from the Broncos. He was one of my favourite players, you know. He was always... Every game, he was... Like, I would put him as one of the best Broncos players. And I was just sad to see him go, you know. I feel like some players got like their positions ahead of him, which I didn't think was warranted. And I thought he was better for the job. But, I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. But 84... You know, that's probably... like, I like Josh Hoffman, so honestly, I'm going to say he should be a bit higher. You know, mid-80s. I guess 84 is mid-80s, but maybe like 85, 86. But, you know, it's not too far off. I'm happy with it. Then we have Anthony Don, 71. You know, maybe this is a bit high. I've never been that big a fan of Anthony Don. He's a decent... Like, honestly, he's a decent backup player. I would definitely have Kevin Gordon here. You know, Gordon's had a few injuries lately, and he's been a bit down on form, but I still think Gordon's a great player. So, obviously, Gordon for me would be here instead of Don. Then we have James Roberts with an 87. You know, that's pretty high. Honestly, I think that's a bit high, you know. Yeah, he's got a few tries and stuff, but I'm not sure about his defense. And like, this is the first club he's actually played a few games at, so I think 87 is a touch high, but I want to point something out that's ridiculous again, and that's the speed of 98. Okay, don't get me wrong, like, obviously he's a fast player. He should be a 99. He should be 99. I don't know if he is the fastest in the game, but a lot of people say, James Roberts is probably, arguably, the fastest in the game. And Josh Morris is a 99, people. Josh Morris is 99. James Roberts is 98. Are you out of your mind? I keep bringing it back to that because I just find it ridiculous, but we'll move on. On to William Zillman. God, that's a name. What a name that is. William Zillman. That's crazy. But he's on 88. You know, I think that's a bit high, honestly. Zillman's good. I've always liked Zillman as a player. You know, he's solid. He's really quick. He moves well. He backs up well. But I don't know. I think 88's too high. Honestly, I don't think he's a game changer. I don't think he's a match winner. And 88 looks like it's almost their highest rated player. So I think, yeah, I think that's a bit high. I'd have him mid to low 80s. Then we go to David Mead. Okay, so straight away I looked at the speed, and they've got David Mead at 99, and, you know, I agree with that. I don't know if Mead's faster than Roberts, but Mead is definitely one of the fastest in the game, and he should be a 99. But 84, you know, I can agree with that. I feel like he should be a bit higher. I really like Mead as a winger, as a player in general. Yeah, but it's not too bad. I'm happy with it. Then we move on to Aiden Caesar, 86. And I'll say that's pretty... I'll say that's perfect, honestly. 86 is where I'd put Caesar. You know? He's one of the better 5'8" in the game. He's probably not the best by any means, but he's good. And I feel like he's on the verge of becoming a really good player. Because I forget who he's moved to next year. It's either Parramatta. I feel like it's Parramatta. Or is it Canberra? It's one of the Sydney clubs. It's one of like the 10 Sydney clubs. But yeah, I know he's moving away from the Gold Coast. And Gold Coast are, you know, 99% sure they're signing Cherry Evans, but Caesar at 86, you know, I feel like he can move on to better things if he changes clubs, which probably will be good for him, but he's a good player. I think 86 is pretty good. And then Daniel Mortimer with an 85. I think this is a bit ridiculous. I don't think he's an 85 at all. And, I mean, that's way too high for him. He is definitely not one behind Caesar, and he's... Like, if I remember correctly, Ben Hunt was an 82. Like, are you seriously telling me Ben Hunt played for Australia off the bench last year, is 3 ratings below Daniel Mortimer, who is, you know, a verge player at best, in my opinion? I don't think Mortimer's... He can have his good games, but I don't think he's a starting halfback in most teams. He's more of a fill-in player. So 85 is way too high, you know, mid to high 70s at best, in my opinion, but yeah. Move on to Luke Douglas at 82. And I'm going to say straight away, this is too high. And I'm only saying that, you know, I feel like Luke Douglas is a good player, but if we look at every other front row in the game, like 82 is like 82 is pretty much standout front rowers so far. Like we look at Matt Scott and even further back to like the Broncos, Adam Blair and Maguire were both 79s. How is Luke Douglas 82? Like, he doesn't make rep teams. I mean, he does play a lot of games in a row, but he doesn't get injured much, but he's definitely not one of the better front rowers out there, in my opinion. He's just a solid front rower. So yeah, that's way too high, and yeah, he should be way lower, honestly. And then we move on to Beau Falloon, and this one's a bit weird as well. 89 for Beau Falloon. You know, I know I'm pretty sure he was voted like Times Player of the Year last year, but I don't think he's an 89. I'm trying to think of what the other dummy halves were rated so far. But I'm sure most of them were not 89. Beau Falloon, way too high, should be lower. Again, he's a good defender, but and he does create a bit out of dummy half, but he's definitely not one of the premier dummy halves out there. You know, he's not... I'm not sure, I think he's a Queenslander, but if he is a Queenslander, he's not even like the second or third choice dummy half for us. So, I don't know how he's 89. And then Nate Miles, 79, that's too low. I mean, we compare Luke Douglas to Nate Miles. Nate Miles is one of the best Queensland players when he plays for in Origin. How is he below Luke Douglas again? Like, some of these ratings I don't understand them. I mean, when you've got like a rep player in Nate Miles below Luke Douglas, who's not a rep player, it just baffles me. But, you know, in saying all, like, when I say all this, you know, it's bound to be changed, so a lot of these ratings might get changed. They might not, but I hope they do. But yeah, Nate Miles should be higher, you know, mid-80s probably. He's one of the best, he's one of the best front rowers in the game. He's had a few injuries of late, but he's still one of the best front rowers. Then we got Ryan James. Now this is, you know, I'd say this is about right for Ryan James. Last year he wasn't that good. But the start of this year he started to really show his form in the second row, so I think 78 is about right for him. Dave Taylor at 83. You know, yeah, this one's a hard one. You know, honestly, if they put like high 80s, if they put 70s, I probably would have agreed with. So I'm going to agree with 83 because it's hard to pick it. It's hard to place where he would be. You know, he's so inconsistent sometimes. One game he's setting up tries, he's unstoppable, but other games he's fumbling, he's lazy, you know. So 83 I think is fine for him. And then we have Greg Bird at 89. Okay, so I don't like Greg Bird at all as a player, as a person, but you know, he's obviously a good player. I can admit he's a good back rower. He's one of the better back rowers in the game, so you know, 89 is probably warranted. Maybe a touch high, but yeah, I can see why he's got 89. And then we've got the bench. So the bench, my bench for Titans definitely wouldn't consist of this. I would definitely have Mark Ione, wherever the hell he is, but we'll just go with this for now. So Matthew White, 76. You know, probably a bit high. He's just a backup front rower, honestly. Then we got Ben Ridge. God, there was such a thing going around with Ben Ridge, wasn't there? I don't know what started it, but he was like the everyone was just like, it was like I don't know how to explain it, but if anything was good or bad in rugby league, it was like Ben Ridge was like the player, you know, people talked about. It was obviously just a joke, but he was like people were just like talking about how amazing Ben Ridge was, but just brought back memories of that. It's just hilarious, but you know, he's a solid player, you know, he's a good defender, not much else. Eddie Pettyborn, this is probably a bit low. I mean, it's probably okay because he's come back from the Super League, but like when he played for Rabbitohs a couple of years ago, he was great to watch. You know, he ran hard, he tackled hard. He was just a good forward, and he started off the Titans really well too. So I would have him a bit higher, probably high 70s. And then Kieran Mosley, yeah, it's probably about right. You know, he's a good backup dummy half for them. Obviously, Bo Falloon is their number one dummy half, so Kieran Mosley, 77, not too bad. I'm pretty happy with all that, honestly. I'm actually just going to have a quick check, see if I can see Ione. Actually, yeah, it's a hard choice. They have Khalifa Faifailoa and Kevin Gordon. They have some really good backs. Oh, and I'd definitely have David Haller on the bench. David Haller, I really want him to stop getting injured because I feel like he's going to be one of the best front rowers running around. And there's Mark Ione. Man, he's a good player. 78. Honestly, I thought they would have him a bit lower than this, but 78's probably... Honestly, I feel like it's too low, but... you know. He hasn't played that many first grade games, but God, he's such a talent. But yeah, that's the Titans, so I'll see you in the next episode, boys.